we're going to understand the role of markets in promoting sustainable food systems. And to share this wisdom and expertise, we have Mamadou Goita, who is the Executive Director for the Institute for Research and Promotion of Alternative Development. He is active in social movements and works with farmer organizations and their networks in Africa. He participated in the coordination of the World Food Sovereignty Forum at Nyeleni Center in Mali, that's in 2007, and is also one of the founding members of AFSA. He is also a member of the IPES Food, and allow me to call Dr. Mamadou to share his wisdom and expertise with us. Mamadou, please share the knowledge.
Merci beaucoup. C'était un plaisir et un honneur d'avoir cette opportunité de présenter sur le rôle des marchés dans la promotion des systèmes alimentaires. Comme vous le savez bien, il y a beaucoup d'initiatives qui sont en cours actuellement pour parler de la question des marchés. Ces initiatives sont de différentes natures et peuvent être... OK, thank you. Et ces initiatives peuvent être subdivisées en plusieurs catégories. Ceux qui pensent que l'Afrique doit intégrer le marché mondial justement pour s'affirmer et avoir des devises, et d'autres qui pensent qu'il y a des types de marchés qui sont beaucoup plus appropriés. So the slides are in French. I will just go ahead then in English. Huh? Is that okay? So there are some preambles that I want to highlight. The first one is that in Africa, in most of the cases, I won't come on some of the statistics that depending on some countries, mainly West and Central Africa, but is lower than some other countries, that between 60 and 83% of the total population are working in the agricultural sector. When I talk about agriculture, I put it on capital A. I'm talking about cattle, I'm talking about fishing, I'm talking about vegetable growing and the like, and also those who are working on forestry issues. And most of the families, most of the players on this sector are smallholder farmers. In some cases, they are family farming system per se. They can be bigger size, but also small size. And these are entities that are linked to families, to customs, and then some of the cultural background. So I said that in the context of Africa, talking about market, we need first to analyze what are some of the policy background. We're just saying that there are some preamble that we need to highlight. The first thing is that if you look at most of the African countries, just to talk about the market, we need to ensure that we know where we are going. But in most of the African countries, we don't even have agricultural policies per se. Most of the countries have agricultural programs. It can be a strategy program for five years or 3 years, but the final end of agriculture is not well known. You cannot define the kind of market that you want to promote if you are not defining the vision that you have for your agriculture. This is why we have this contradiction between saying that agriculture is to feed the population, but at the same time, we said that we want to get to the international market with our agricultural product. So this is one first thing that needs to be done. If you don't put emphasis on the vision that you have for your agriculture, that first is for feeding the population and creating wealth and creating jobs, so you are missing the point. If we don't do that, this means that we cannot ask the key question, which kind of market are we promoting or creating? Because actually there are different types of market that exist. And if you look at the trends of studies, I just tried to put some of the, in 2016, before FAO the CFS get in the debate on territorial market, just to highlight the fact that most of the studies show that family farmings are already in the market. People don't want just to talk about the kind of market they are engaged in. This is the only point. They are already in the market, because if you go in most of the family farms, even if the production is not enough, they will go to the market. But these markets are not really relevant for them sometimes because of some of the logic things that I will talk about. So we talk about market. There are different concepts of market that we can see in the literature. We talk about international market with less than 25% of the foodstuff will circulate is less than 25% of the foodstuff. And if you look at the kind of foodstuff that circulate in the international market, it's mainly maize, it's related to maize, it's oil, mainly some of the cooking oil, it's wheat, and so on and so forth. But while in Africa, most of these products are not our main foodstuff, foodstuff in per se. We talk about interior market, we talk about rural market, about urban market, we talk about local market, informal, formal, commercial product market, we talk about labor market, we talk about land market that is coming out very, very, very often actually emerging in Africa. We talk about financial market, and we talk about what is called actually the territorial market. Well, more than 70% of the food stuff in the world is not in Africa only, is circulating. And there are some key studies that show that more than, you have about 63% of the food stuff don't cross more than 100 kilometers. This means that there are some kind of market, closer ones, that are just places where the food stuff will circulate. I'm talking about cereal, tuberculosis, and all and the like. And these are circulating in the market that we call the territorial market. So they are the key strategic point that link the production system to a food system. This is the intermediary instrument, species, more than what we call trading. It's more than trading that will circulate most of our foodstuffs and allow those who have been producing to access to those who are consuming, but also those who are in between as processors or small traders or big traders that will just move the production from one place to another place. So these are markets that are linked to a food system at local level, at national level, but also at cross-border level. So they are defined as markets that are not only diversified, where with most of the foodstuff transit in the world, but also they can operate at different levels. They are not to be confused with what we call local market. This is to minimize the role that they play in the food system. They are also cross-border markets that will allow different countries to exchange products and to create also wealth, but also creating more jobs and creating conditions so that the food system is more sustainable. So this is the definition that has been given during the CFS meeting. There are some characteristics of this market that allow to say that these markets play the biggest role in the sustainable food system, in upstream and downstream linkages of the food system. The first one is that they are deeply rooted in the territories, given territories, on line with the cultural habits of the food system. This is one of the key characteristics that we can highlight. So the biggest majority of the products that are in this market are from the territory that is hosting this market. And those who are selling, those who are producing, and those who are processing are also in big majority coming from the space. The second characteristic is that also this market are based on horizontal relationship. It's more than just coming and selling, but people have bargaining capacities also that are very useful for them. It's also included in the diversity of the players that come in the market with the diversity of the product. It's also playing different roles that are more than economic role, social roles, cultural roles, but also ecological roles related to this to the food system. And they are more remunerative, more beneficial for producers at different levels, pastoralists and cattle and all the like. They are also formal and informal. Some of them are formal because also spaces for collecting resources by the collectivities, the local government, but also can allow just to invest in the given territory in redistributing the wealth that are created. And they are localized at different levels, as I mentioned. So there are very few experiences that these are documented. This is why when talking about the food system policies in Africa, we need really to emphasize on the fact that there is a need to do more research on this territorial market to allow that to play the role. So there are some key reflection points that I highlight in this slide. because it's not well known. First, that. Secondly, that we didn't draw a lesson from most of the cases, and the relationship between private and public partnership show that there is a way to work on this, and on contract farming system need really to highlight in this kind of territorial market, because they will just contradict what is the trend today on the public-private partnership issues that are completely disturbing the food system in our countries. There are less investment on this kind of market, and that some of the key ways that are linked to the territorial market also are public procurement issues, but also the regulation of import of products in our continent. That most of the contracts that are signed in the contract farming are excluding mainly women and youth from this kind of market. So there is a need to invest, just that the physical access to this market can be a reality, that relationship between different players can be based on the need assessment of a system, and the regulation of a market as a key point, and also all the things that are related to that. I will just go very quickly saying that why is this market very important in the sustainable food system? This is a stratification. The key point related to that is the power that people have to on the market system that is promoted mainly on agricultural staff things. So this is something very important, and to invest on that, there is a couple of investing area. All the reform that are related to the banking system in our country that we invest on this market, to differentiate the different kind of processing of a product, so that we create conditions for this market to provide foodstuff to the small scale processors in our countries, and then transform that to bigger spaces for access to different different product for sustainable food system. And here, since that the relationship, there are some key areas where you need to invest in the continent, and that the sustainable food system also needs this regulation of the market, in putting more emphasis on territorial market data spaces where I said are creating more. And so we'll find in the slide, probably we'll share it, different proposals that I have just to help this market to support more the sustainable food system in our continent. So I will stop here, hoping that we'll have more space to discuss about these issues later on. Thank you.